No, they haven't shut down this printing press for good yet. Gutenberg is still alive, and in fact, in just a few minutes, this press will be cranking out tonight's edition of the San Mateo Times. But there are some futurists who say that the days are numbered for the printing press, that increasingly our journalism will be delivered electronically and not on paper. Today, we'll venture into the new world of digital journalism on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles is brought to you in part by Intel, microprocessor technology for the software of today and tomorrow. Intel, the computer inside. Additional funding is provided by the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy. And by Hewlett-Packard, Personal Computer Division.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stewart Cheifet, and with me today is Michael Bradshaw of Compact Publishing. And Michael publishes CNN Newsroom on a CD-ROM. What can I do with CNN on my computer, Michael?
Well, we can explore 6 major topic areas in global affairs.
All right, so I see the choices I have. I suppose I'm interested in the waging peace part of what you have.
We can click on waging peace, and we'll go down to more specific
and I
topics.
get 6 more choices, and I'm interested, in fact, in the United Nations, so what do I do now?
We can view a stream of videos about the United Nations from CNN Newsroom.
So you just clicked on that icon, and I'm seeing some CNN News file footage here.
That's correct.
All right, what else can I do?
Well, that topic is backed up by a variety of text material. We could go down and take a look at a text file.
So these are wire service stories, newspaper stories on that
That's
same
correct,
topic?
gathered from around the world.
All right, and I want to do a specific search. My interest, I really wanted to find out about the UN role in Somalia, so how do I do that search?
Well, I called up the search engine here. I'll need to type in some search words.
So you're putting in the keywords, United Nations, and I said Somalia.
Somalia.
Okay, and what size database are we going through here?
We're going through 15 megabytes of text here.
And so you found 11 articles for me.
You found 11 articles rather quickly.
And there's my choice of stuff.
Well, then let's go ahead and take this one. This one's from the Paris AFP.
So you've got international sources going into this.
That's
Real
correct.
quickly, what about the globe part of this? I saw that globe icon at the beginning. What do I do with that?
Well, that's our atlas. This provides us a lot of data that supports these news stories that we cover.
So I could click on a part of the world on the globe and find out information.
That's right. You can go down through all the countries of the world.
Michael,
and
the
get
question
data
I
about
have for you is, this is neat technology, but is there a customer for this? Does anybody really want to get their news on a computer?
Well, yes. We've actually developed a way of merging print and video journalism in a way that's never been possible before this medium came along.
So you're kind of redefining news in a way using
That's
the computer
correct, Stuart.
platform.
We have.
All right, today we will look at several ways to get the news without reading a newspaper, listening to the radio, or watching TV. Now, while one of the thrusts of digital journalism is electronic delivery, the other goal is personalized news and information. That's the focus at the MIT Media Lab in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Information tailored to the individual me, not the masses, is the focus of the research here at the MIT Media Lab. Walter Bender directs the News in the Future project, which includes work on context-sensitive delivery systems that combine elements of broadcast, text, and electronic delivery according to the taste of the individual consumer.
I get a newspaper delivered every day. I get the Bender Bugle delivered to my computer every day. I get my personal news on the screen every day. I also get the news delivered to my pager. And I like having it that way. I like getting all those things, and I like having the system help me sort out and make sure that the right things get to me at the right time.
Adapting the technology to suit the content of the message is a key area of research. In this project, the Salient Still special imaging software allows you to collapse the content from 4 frames of video into one composite still photo.
We want to divorce the content from any fixed or hard-fast representation of that content, so that that content can get delivered in a form that's timely, convenient, useful to the consumer of the content.
Making sense of the huge amounts of complex graphical information that will soon be available courtesy of the information superhighway will require high-resolution hardware. This is the world's highest resolution multidimensional monitor with a 6,000 by 2,000 pixel display.
You can, for example, look at 500 moving images at one time. Now, this is just completely impossible with a television set today. But once computation gets into that television set, then you will have options of watching things contextually, which is to see lots of things at one time, so that you can perceptually compare information, which is something that's not possible today.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Jonelle Patterson.
One of the major factors in digital journalism is the growth of online services, telephone-delivered data, which puts the news on your computer screen. Here to show us two approaches to online journalism are Bob Engel, executive editor with the San Jose Mercury News, and Chris Hassett of PED Software, the makers of a product called Journalist. Bob, I want to start with you, and I've got today's San Jose Mercury News right here, but you have the paper also online on the computer, huh?
We do have the paper online. That's not the principal mission of Mercury Center, but the paper is online.
So it's really more than just the paper we're going to take a look at online.
It's intended to be deeper information, supplemental information, new ways of communicating with the editors and users with each other.
All right, show me the advantages of reading the Merc online then.
Well, let's suppose you were outside our circulation area, or you were in a hotel room on the road, let's say.
Okay, so I'm on the East Coast and I want to read the Morning Merc.
Right. You can click on In the News, then go to today's paper, and you see that it's organized in approximately the same way as the daily newspaper. You've got front page national, international, etc. Click on national, let's say, and you get a listing of all the headlines that are in that day's paper.
So one advantage is I can read the paper without physically picking one up.
Without physically picking it up. This is exactly the same text that's in the daily paper, and it's there by about 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock.
All right, you said I can go
time.
deeper than just the paper. Show me what you mean.
Well, in every area, there's supplementary information. And for example, in this paper right here, if I could, there's a story about President Clinton speaking to some Democratic Party people, and it says text of Clinton's speech in 680,
so the
in
paper
760.
guides me to more stuff if I want it on the computer.
Correct. So you'd go in here, click the enter code key,
which I got out of the newspaper story.
Which you got out of the newspaper, and go directly to the text of Clinton's address to the Democratic Council without having to go through any other menuing.
Sure. What else can I do? I imagine I can do text searches, which I obviously couldn't do with the piece of paper.
You can do text searches. If you have an interest in, let's say, Intel Computer, and you want to look at just recent articles, you can do a text search on Intel, and it's in about 3 months' time you've got 116
So I'm not
matching.
just searching today's edition. In fact, I can go 3 months back.
Well, actually you can go all the way back to 1985. If you go into the news library, we have there, this is a premium service, but it's relatively inexpensive. And this is a gateway to our electronic library system that includes everything that we've published since 1985.
So I can access the same files that your editors or writers could access.
Correct.
Then.
So let's suppose you were interested in checking an Intel patent situation in 1988. You could say Intel and patent and then do a search. Now this is online to ViewText in Philadelphia, which is another company that we own.
Sure. So once again, just like we saw before with the CNN disc, this is kind of the Merc Plus. I mean, I can do more with this than I could have done just with the paper.
That's right. That's right.
All right, quickly, who's using this? I mean, who's the customer? Who wants to pay to do this kind of thing?
I think at the moment the customer is people who know what an online service is. And so we are still in the process of skimming current online users, but we think that that's beginning to change now, and people who never have used online services are wanting to do this because it is tied to their newspaper.
Sure. All right, thanks a lot, Bob. I want to move over here and talk to Chris, and you have a slightly different approach, I guess, to online journalism. Chris, tell me what you do with Journalist.
Well, Journalist is a program which really taps on the information that's available from online services like Prodigy.
Okay, so you're online with Prodigy here?
It's actually starting to go online with Prodigy,
Okay.
and what I have defined as my own personal view into the news system, and
All right,
you'll
so
hear
we're dialing up
the
right now.
modem access.
Okay, so this is going to give me my or your personalized newspaper laid out the way you want it laid out.
Exactly.
And with the content that you want.
Exactly. For instance, what I've done, and I'll zoom in on this, there's no news there. Actually, you won't see much. But the headline here is telling me that I've tied it to headline news. So that's the latest news available. And this is news that could have happened only 15 minutes ago. So this is extremely up to date. And what you'll see next to it is the news on business stories. Latest press releases. If I'm a business-oriented person, I might tailor my newspaper to be more business-oriented.
And you've set this all up ahead of time.
I set this up ahead of time.
This is the newspaper I want to see.
This is the newspaper I want to see. This is my newspaper. Another individual might be entertainment-oriented, or another individual might actually be oriented towards sports, very interested in the latest sports. So this newspaper can be customized to your view. Now, what's especially exciting about it is I can schedule this newspaper so that you don't have to wait for the news. I can schedule it to acquire the news every morning, for instance. I can schedule it to be ready on my printer at 7 o'clock in the morning.
You can automate the whole download, layout, print process. I wake up, and in my printer is my version of the morning
Exactly.
newspaper.
So
what are you doing? What are we seeing
What
now?
happened there is the first story came in, and I'll actually zoom in on it so you can read it on the screen. This happens to be the Endeavour snatches the Hubble, which is something that happened fairly recently.
So it's pulling the stories online off Prodigy, automatically squeezing them into the format you
Exactly. And of course, when you get done, when this is done, we call it filling or acquiring the information from Prodigy. You, of course, can print this to any printer that's supported by Windows. And again, I mentioned it can be waiting for you on your printer by the time you wake up. It's now moved on to business news, and I can show you the business news article. It's low airfares. It's Christmas time, so I imagine that's something of interest to many people. And it will move on to politics news. And it not only will pull in text, the program is fully capable of using the Windows
I see you've got stock charts down there.
Down below, I've actually asked the program journalist to keep track of, this happens to be Connor Peripherals, keep track of its price. And over time, it stores it in a database so that I can get a better view into stocks that may be of interest to me.
Can we go back and see what's happening with the layout of the paper there?
Okay, it should be, what it's going to do now is going to tell me what I might look forward to tomorrow as far as weather.
So you're putting a color weather map on the front page there, too. This is your own USA Today, huh?
Exactly. So this weather map, again, will be in full color, so you can get an appreciation for whether you should go to the beach tomorrow or perhaps
How long is it going to take me to download this paper then?
This paper will take about 3 minutes. You'll see the weather map come in momentarily, and then it will move on to the portfolio of stocks that I've selected. And again, these stocks will be updated. You could schedule it to keep you up to date every 15 minutes or on a longer schedule.
Okay, and what happens is you say, here's what would finally happen. If I got up in the morning and came down to my printer, there would be, if I were Tyler's newspaper with just the stuff
That's exactly
I want.
right.
Is this available for services other than Prodigy?
It is available. We currently have a product very similar to this that sells on CompuServe. This product will be available in March, and it will be widely available. People tend to really latch on to it because it allows you to kind of personally define what you want to look at in the news.
All right, thank you. All right, one of the most promising areas of digital journalism is financial news, and one of the first major efforts in that field is the Private Financial Network. It's a new computer-based news service from CNBC.
We'll also have the latest winners and losers on Wall Street, including...
Skip Klein is a healthcare analyst at T. Rowe Price, one of the country's largest money management firms and one of about 25 subscribers to the Private Financial Network. Television coverage of financial news and events is beamed via satellite directly to Skip's PC. A companion data service called First Call lets him access trading charts and other news about the subject of the broadcast.
I like it because it gives pretty accurate presentation of information that's going on out there, and it's often in its full form. It's not edited or cut off at the end of 30 minutes because they have to go on to a soap opera of some sort. They give me the full text and the full information that I can then work with and analyze myself.
CNBC provides production support, a satellite uplink, and a portion of the programming. PFN crews cover all of the New York Society of Security Analysts presentations and conferences of interest to financial professionals.
We'll cover a number of brokerage conferences. We've done conferences for Piper Jaffray and Alex Brown, Payne Weber, First Boston. We cover press conferences. We've done recently the Viacom and Paramount press conference, the Key Corp and Society Bank press conferences. We'll do new product announcements. So that's sort of the nature of our programming.
The PFN signal can also be fed directly to television monitors, such as this one in the trading room at T. Rowe Price. To receive PFN on your PC, you need an IBM PS2 TV unit or a video board and a color VGA monitor. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Jonelle Patterson.
The growth of CD-ROMs and the ability to put full-motion video on a PC have created a new platform for the weekly news magazine and the television documentary. Here to show us both are Michael Rogers, managing editor of Newsweek Interactive, and also Steve Podrachik, president of Medio Multimedia. Mike, let's begin with you, and this is Newsweek Interactive, Newsweek on a CD-ROM. Or in fact, is that what it is? Is this Newsweek magazine on a CD-ROM?
It's much more than Newsweek on a CD-ROM. It does have the last 3 months of Newsweek, 500,000 words, all searchable by word. It's available in stores and by subscription. It's got a lot more than that, though, because we think this is a new medium, and we have to create new stories right from scratch.
All right, show me what you mean here.
Basically, we see this as a blend between magazines, television, and radio. It's none of those. It's some new thing. But it begins like a television show.
Newsweek Interactive.
And we could sit here and watch this for a while. Pictures will scroll, credits, and so forth. But unlike TV, at any point, we can say no and go straight.
So you're in control.
You're in control and go straight to the table of contents. Now, this is more like a magazine. We can go around. There's various features. Here are our two feature documentaries. One is about special effects, one is about healthcare. These are very in-depth pieces because they're quarterly. Behind the Screens is about special effects. We begin with a short piece of video that is from a hit movie of last summer, In the Line of Fire. It runs for a while, just to give us some idea of...
Okay, so this is an example of special effects inside.
These are actually special effects that you can't see.
Okay,
it's quite interesting.
What do we do next?
But at any point, we can go straight to the documentary, which begins like a television documentary.
In Hollywood, they call it FX. It's the glue that holds together
so
thousands
I can just watch it as if it were a TV.
That's right.
Or I can take charge.
Exactly. When you hit the Explore button, it drops you into the text, the exact word-for-word text of the documentary you've been watching. Only now it looks like a magazine.
So this is the narrator's script, essentially, laid out like a magazine.
But with additional information. The bold-faced words have charts, photos. You can pull up as much information as you like, keep going through, read it like a magazine. When you're tired of reading it like a magazine, you can drop back into what we call narrate mode. Now you're in the documentary again, and it's like television again.
Added tricks to
this
the
is what we're interesed in. Is things that you can't do on television and you can't do in magazines. I'll give you an example of a couple other features like that. One thing that we're interested in is interactive video. And what I can show you here is a feature called Face to Face, which is, in a sense, a 20-minute video documentary, but cut up in a special way.
So, I mean, I can choose which of these guys I want to talk to or interview, in a sense?
We just heard a question, special effects, not just a job.
To begin the conversation.
Exactly. Let's choose Stan Winston.
So I say I want his answer to that question.
That's right. We click on that. Stan comes up.
Characters. I don't do special effects.
So it's sort of a do-it-yourself documentary in a way, right? I pick my sound bites. Yeah.
And we can keep going through. We can ask more questions. We can ask the question of anyone we want to.
Consider the tools of the trade.
Second thing, here's an example of an interactive poll. We publish polls in Newsweek. They're based on a lot of research, but we can only do a few charts and graphs in an issue. Here, we give you the chance to draw your own graphs. You're interested to see this except with respect to political parties?
So you're giving me your raw data, and I can make my own graphs.
Exactly, on the fly. This is the kind of technology we think defines digital journalism.
Newsweek Interactive, that's terrific stuff. Thank you very much, Mike. Very impressive. Steve, let's take a look at what you have here. I guess Mike was showing us the news magazine turned into digital journalism. You have essentially the TV documentary turned into digital journalism. And I guess we're going to look at the JFK assassination CD-ROM and show me what you can do with this one.
Well, what we tried to do was to give you the ability to have both the best of a videotape where you have a linear presentation like what's on the screen now.
In an effort to gain votes for the 1964 presidential election.
So this is like watching the TV show, right? Right. What more can I do with this?
Well, armed with that kind of knowledge, then you can take a look at films and photographs and begin to analyze it as you might. For example, it turns out that there were actually 4 films taken that day in Dallas when President Kennedy was shot, and we have the film from those.
Okay, so we could take a look at the Zapruder film, for example?
Right, just click there. And not only can you look at it, you can look at it any way that you might want to. You can take a look at a normal view on this, a slow-mo, frame by frame. You can do it full screen, whatever you might like.
Okay, so what are we going to see here?
Using a Bell & Howell 8mm
So this is the real-time Zapruder film?
Exactly.
Abraham Zapruder captured...
Okay, now if I wanted to really study this frame by frame, I can do that?
Yes, you would probably click the Frames button here. And then after it comes on, you actually have the ability to, you see the frame counter in the corner.
Yeah.
But beyond that, you can move the counter.
And pick the frame I want?
Exactly. Like if you wanted to move it to somewhere close to the assassination.
The frame of the moment, yeah.
Right.
All right, so what else can we do? I see you have lots of other options up there, Steve.
Yeah, you can actually take a look at zoom-in views. You can see more text information. You can actually learn about the film. Or you can go back to the main menu and look at some other information.
Okay, show me what else you have.
One of the nice things about it is that we actually tried not to take a point of view in this title at all. For example, we have a number of analysis, which are basically animations done. These are all done especially for this product.
So again, you're showing the 3 different views on what really happened here.
Right.
Warren Commission, Conspiracy, House Committee.
Pick your point of view, right.
Okay, so show us one of them.
If you pick the conspiracy, for example, all of the animations on this screen take those assumptions that were done.
Huh.
So if you were to click on, say, the sniper's nest view, you see what would have been seen from there.
All right, so you've clicked on that one icon, and we're going to now see...
This is the view that might have been seen by an assassin aiming at the presidential limousine. The numbers in the upper right-hand corner correspond to frames in the Zapruder film.
So obviously a lot more powerful than just watching a TV show, right?
Considerably more. You can stop and rewind it.
Or even just watching a tape. I mean, you can really dig inside here. And as you say, take a different point of view. This is not just Oliver Stone, but whoever you want it to be. All right, what else can we do here?
Well, it's actually kind of funny that you mentioned Oliver Stone, because we also have a lot of information based on text. For example, I think it's essential that you have the complete text to the Warren Commission in this, but the Crossfire book, which the Oliver Stone movie was based on,
full text
is
of the
also
book,
here.
the commission report, and all that stuff in here also.
So if you simply click there, you get a menu of all the major table of contents. Click on, say, the assassin, and you learn more about that. You can actually scroll through, so if you want to read this all online, you can do so. But what I think most people would rather do is tell me about the depository building. Simply click on that hotspot, and you see a photograph of it.
All right, so where else could I go?
Well, once you go back to the main menu, if you're fairly young and you really don't know a lot about the topic, one of the nicer features is the ability to look at Dealey Plaza maps. For example, we have hundreds of photographs. You can go to the Film and Photo map, and you can take a look at what it would have looked like from this point of view. This is actually Dealey Plaza.
Yeah.
And you can even zoom in on these.
Which was positioned at the end of the motorcade, passes the side.
Now, who do you see is using this kind of thing? I mean, this is very deep, very rich. I can see if you're an assassination aficionado, you know, you're going to play with this stuff. I mean, what other kinds of things are you going to do? What other kind of titles would you come out with in this format?
Well, in the same kind of format, anything which people are very curious about that can actually be explored at a number of different detail levels. One of the things that I think separates a title like this from some other ones is that you don't need to know a lot about the topic. You can begin with the introductory overview and slowly go into the detail. Most people are never going to read the Warren Commission this verbatim.
But if you want to do your research, you don't have to go to the library. It's right on the disk.
Right, you have really an unlimited depth range, which is something that's only possible with the CD-ROM technology.
It really is a new definition of journalism. I mean, this is new stuff that never existed before.
It's exciting.
Steve, thanks so much. Well, that is our analog look at digital journalism. Stay tuned now for this week's Computer News on Random Access.
In the Random Access file this week, Hewlett-Packard has introduced the world's first microprocessor with multimedia capabilities built in. The new PA7100LC chip is a RISC processor that can handle digital images, video, and digital audio without any external hardware. The chip will support both the MPEG and JPEG standards. HP says the chips will be used inside its new HP 9000 and HP 3000 systems, as well as in new LAN server products. Intuit has jumped onto the software freebie bandwagon and is offering trial copies of Quicken for only an $8 shipping and handling charge. The demo version is a full copy of Quicken, but it limits you to a set number of accounts and transactions. The trial edition of Quicken is available by calling 1-800-624-5071. And if you're worried about importing Quicken files into ChipSoft's TurboTax, it should become easier than ever. Intuit has announced the acquisition of ChipSoft as a wholly owned subsidiary, continuing the trend toward mergers in the tax and personal finance areas. Macweek magazine and the San Francisco Examiner report that Apple is set to launch its own online service in competition with Prodigy, CompuServe, and America Online. No official word from Apple yet, though the Examiner says Apple will officially announce the new online service at the upcoming Macworld Expo in San Francisco. We'll have a complete special program on Macworld coming up in a few weeks. The first international version of Apple's Newton message pad is now being sold in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. The German language version of the Newton comes bundled with a 2-megabyte PCMCIA card loaded with sample applications. Aldus Corporation has announced a new division to create software for interactive multimedia publishing. The new division is called the Interactive Publishing Products Group. The new software will allow you to create and distribute electronic information, including sound, video, graphics, and text. Aldus launched the desktop publishing category in the 80s with its innovative PageMaker program. And finally, the latest battle over sex and violence and computer games is focused on a new PC game called The Battle of the Robo-Babes. Women characters covered in armor battle each other and their male dominators for freedom. If the Robo-Babes don't win with violence, they try more seductive strategies. The game comes from a company called Megatech, which already got into trouble with an earlier computer game called Cobra Mission. That's it for this week's Random Access. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Janelle Stelson.